Alright guys, welcome back to another TNC Sportscast video. Today we're going to go through some week 3 waiver wire pickups. About 2 or 3 per position, and make sure to drop a like, follow, subscribe, go to our TikTok, and let's get into it. You already know what time it is. Gardner Minshew magic. Had to rep with the jersey. He's not really surprising anyone, but I feel like he's an easy pickup that for me wise. He's got 11 points week 1, 13 points week 2. It's not really good numbers for a quarterback, but he's got a couple good matchups coming up. Week 3 he's got Carolina, and then week 5 he's got Denver when bye weeks start popping up, so he could easily be stashed for a bye week. You can plug and play, put him in. He's got a really good receiver core. He's got Devontae, Jacoby Myers, 2 really good wide receivers, and he's got this stud. Nobody knows him. Brock Bowers, I mean, he's going crazy right now. I mean, and he's got a 1-2 punch with the running backs that can easily catch passes too. They got a really good offensive scheme with their head coach, and I think they'll be putting up points.
With our quarterbacks for week 3, if you didn't pick up Baker last week, don't worry. I know a lot of people thought it was probably going to be like a week 1 fluke that Sam Darnold had a pretty good game, but he topped it playing his former team, the San Francisco 49ers. Dropped 20 points. He had 26 attempts for 17 completions. Had a touchdown. No, 2 touchdowns. Had 1 interception. But, I mean, the 49ers are a good team, and he balled against them. He's got Jordan Addison coming back. I think this week he should be back. And then Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's throwing it up like Kirk Cousins right now. So definitely go pick up Sam Darnold. And if you have other good quarterbacks, he could definitely be a stash. But I mean, he's proving that he can be a reliable starter week to week.
All right, our second quarterback we got here is a guy you wouldn't really think about picking up before week 1, but Derek Carr. Another guy like Sam Darnold, we're like, but he's averaging over 20 points for the past 2 games. I mean, he balled out against a tough Cowboys defense, and he's averaging over 20 points and 220 yards passing. So he's also got a really good schedule coming up, and I think he's a good stash for a bye week here and there.
Alrighty, moving over to the running backs now. The first running back we want you to pick up is actually part of a committee. Well, they both are a committee. Carson Steele and Samaje Perine. Both Kansas City Chiefs running backs. Pacheco is going to be having surgery, out probably 6 to 8 weeks, if not more. But looking at it, they have a pretty easy schedule coming up. So if the Chiefs go out in front, definitely could just run the clock down, run the ball. So definitely, I feel like that's more Carson Steele there, with Samaje being more of the like receiving work and everything. But also they did just sign Kareem Hunt today, so that's also kind of a risk, or you could go pick him up. Just the Chiefs running backs in general, you could go pick any of them up. But we haven't really seen a lot from either of them because Pacheco gets most of the work. But definitely go pick one of them up if you can. They both are definitely a beneficial pair to have.
All right, our second running back, we got a rookie actually, Braylon Allen. He's the second string running back for the Jets. He pushed in 2 touchdowns last week. He got a lot of receiving work, had 4 targets for 20 and 2 receptions for 23 yards. Obviously, he's not the number 1. Breece Hall's there, but if Breece Hall somewhat goes down, gets injured or something, I feel like this guy could step up huge and get a lot of work and get a lot of fantasy points. But he's more of a stash instead of I need him right now type of guy. But if Breece Hall gets injured, he's going to be a league winner.
Alrighty, so the last running back we're going to talk about is Bucky Irving on the Buccaneers. Rachaad White did actually have a groin injury in the game week 2, but he is questionable, might play still. But Bucky Irving is definitely getting the more running work. Rachaad is getting the more receiving work as the running back. Week 1, he had 9 attempts and averaged 7 yards per carry, which is pretty dang good. And they're playing Denver next week, which is, as we know, a fantasy running back best matchup. I mean, Kenneth Walker, Najee Harris, and Jaylen Warren had a pretty good game this week too. But definitely go pick up Bucky Irving, especially if White is out for the game with the groin injury. I mean, he's definitely a must start at that point because they're going to use him a ton.
All right, on to wide receivers. The first guy we got, Quentin Johnston. Yeah, he sucked last year, but this year he's looking pretty well. I mean, he's got 11 targets so far through these 2 games. He's got 2 touchdowns last week. They're still fighting over there for the number 1 wide receiver at the Chargers with the top 10 quarterback. So I think he's a really good stash. And if you need him, if you got some wide receiver any depth, I'd pick him up easily. I think he could have a couple good games this year.
Alrighty, another receiver you definitely have to go pick up. He is rostered in 60% of leagues, so if he is taken, you could possibly even trade for him if you really want to. But Rashid Shaheed, who knew the Saints were going to do as good as they're doing? 90 points in 2 games is absolutely crazy. Derek Carr is slinging the ball. Their new offensive coordinator is definitely getting things going with the Saints. Rashid Shaheed is having a better last 2 games than Chris Olave. I mean, they're using him tons, going deep down the field. Chris Olave's kind of going on the slants and everything, which is opening up for Shaheed. Last week against Dallas, he had 20 fantasy points, 4 receptions for 96 yards, had a really long touchdown, which definitely helped out. But the week before that, played Carolina, had 16 points, had 3 receptions for 73 yards. So, I mean, he's definitely getting the targets, definitely getting the long catches that get you a good amount of fantasy points. Another guy he's rostered in 40% of leagues is Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, yes, Deshaun Watson is his quarterback, but he did not look bad in week 2. And Jerry Jeudy is definitely a solid option for any bye week. So if he is still on your waiver wire, go definitely pick him up.
All right, on to another wide receiver. We got a Colts wide receiver, Alec Pierce. He's another long ball type of guy that you don't think is he's actually only rostered in 25% of leagues, which I find is crazy. I think he should be another type of stash guy that you could put in for bye weeks or even start him. I mean, if you need help at wide receiver, I would start him. He's a long ball guy. In the first week, he had 21 points, so people thought, oh, that's just a fluke. That's a one-time thing. But, I mean, he backed it up in week 2 against the Packers, having 16.6. I mean, he had 11.2 yards per catch. He's had touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. I think he's a really good pickup for the rest of the year.
All right, so the last wide receiver one we want you guys to go pick up is actually a duo because the main duo is on IR now. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both go down in weeks 1 and 2. So go pick up Demarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell. Demarcus Robinson has had decent games. I mean, he had 8 points in week 1 and 7 points in week 2. But he had Puka and Cooper Kupp in week 1. Well, Puka a little bit, and then Cooper Kupp in week 2 for a little bit. But I definitely think him and also go pick up Tutu Atwell. They're going to have great games. I mean, with both of them being on IR, that's 4 weeks minimum. They're going to absolutely ball out if Matthew Stafford continues to sling the ball. Demarcus Robinson's been getting he got 4 receptions in week 1, 2 receptions in week 2. And then Tutu Atwell got 4 targets in week 1, didn't really do anything 4 targets in week 2, didn't really do anything in week 1. He had 7 fantasy points in week 2 against Arizona. So definitely those two in general, they're wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 right now. So definitely go pick them up.
All right, on to the next thing. We got tight ends. Actually, a top 3 finisher for tight ends last week. Hunter Henry, he cracked 18.9, which is a really good score for tight ends this week. I mean, compared to Travis Kelce having 1.5 or something like that, which is crazy in my eyes. But he cracked 100 yards, which is really good for a tight end. He had 12 targets for 8 receptions. I think that's really good for all tight ends around the league with all of them sucking right now. But I think this is really good for him. He's easily the number 1 target for Jacoby Brissett. And even if Drake May comes in, it'll be really good for him.
All right, so the last tight end that we want you guys to go pick up is Mike Gesicki on the Bengals. Led the team in receiving yards actually this week against the Chiefs. He had 16 fantasy points, 9 targets for 7 receptions, and had 91 yards. Definitely with T. Higgins being out, I think he's going to be back sooner than later, but definitely with him being out and Jamar Chase playing like he doesn't even want to be on the team, I mean, he's definitely a great option to go pick up. He's only rostered in 12% of leagues, and definitely a solid backup tight end for anybody that has like Jake Ferguson or David Njoku with your tight end 1 going down. So definitely go pick him up.
All right, if you stayed this long, you get a little special. Defenses, we got some good matchups this week. The first one we got is of the Raiders. I mean, they're playing the Panthers. Andy Dalton's getting his first start of the year. Max Crosby's going to have a couple sacks. I mean, they're going to get maybe 1, maybe 2 picks. You never know. But another one that we got that people aren't really thinking about is the Buccaneers defense. I don't think the Broncos had any points last week, and they're going against the Broncos. They're going to be bringing the heat. Bo Nix isn't looking like Bo Nix. He's not playing that well, and I think they're gonna stomp him this week. But thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, watch other videos. New video coming out. Starts and sits coming out sometime this week. But see ya!